Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Connection Cafe. This is MoreYoga's way of connecting us through what was through lockdown 1, and now we're in lockdown 2. So my name is Yvonne O'Garro, and I am one of the MoreYoga teachers, teach restorative and hatha yoga. And I was asked in the aftermath of Black Lives Matter, when George Floyd was killed, to hold a space in some way. And I was asked to choose whatever space I felt was appropriate. And I decided to amplify the voices of yogis of color. So I asked the same 10 questions to various yogis of color, some in MoreYoga, some outside MoreYoga, but we're all yogis. And just to hear the varying journeys. So tonight I have the pleasure of bringing to the MoreYoga studios not only a yoga teacher and an osteopath, but I let her do her intro, to Yinka Fabusuyi.
Hello, welcome everyone. Hello. Yeah, so as Yvonne says, I am, my name's Yinka Fabusuyi, and I'm a yoga teacher and an osteopath, or an osteopath and a yoga teacher.
So which do you normally say?
I suppose, say osteopath and yoga teacher, because that was the order of the qualifications, I suppose.
Right, okay.
Makes sense. For a really long time, it was definitely osteopathy and a bit of yoga. Right. And now it's expanded quite a lot, and it's quite a lot of yoga, and that's really good. So yeah, my name's Yinka. I'm an osteopath and a yoga teacher, and I would probably struggle, a theme that will be ongoing with this interview, to tell you what style or tradition of yoga I teach, but
it's not one of the questions, don't worry.
We'll explore that a bit later. And I teach and practice in South London. I am an educator as well, so I lecture and teach at the University College of Osteopathy, also in South London, and have been doing that for a few years. And my particular subject area is communication skills and case history taking and clinical teaching. Wow. I'm a parent. I own an allotment, and I love my allotment. I love getting my hands on the earth and growing things, sometimes successfully, sometimes not so much so, but that doesn't matter. What else can I tell you?
Maybe press pause for now. That's a nice, lovely little intro. That's my new thing, the 30-second lift pitch. So thank you for that lovely intro. Such a wide and varied career. So are you ready for the Yoga Journeys question?
I am.
Okay, so first one, honoring our ancestors, tell us your family lineage.
So my parents are from Nigeria. They are Yoruba. So that is my heritage and lineage, of which I wear upon myself today. So,
beautiful, yes, I had noticed.
And yeah, so they're both Southerners, Yoruba people. My dad, getting into the nitty-gritty, my dad was from Ekiti, and my mum is from Oyo, and so we're Yoruba.
Wonderful, thanking you. So where, when, and with whom was your first yoga class?
Well, my first yoga class was very close to where I live, South London. And the story of that class, which I'd forgotten, and then I remembered anyway. So I had no interest in yoga whatsoever, didn't think it had anything to offer me, was always slightly fascinated by people during my yoga teacher training who were really bendy and, did all that stuff. And I just thought, whatever. And I was asked to come to a yoga class with a friend, by a friend, who said, you've got to come. There's this teacher in in Brixton, and you know, she's black and we have to go and support her, and you've got to come along. And I just thought, oh really? So I went with my friend because I wanted to support my friend supporting the teacher. I didn't really want to do the yoga.
Yeah.
And I got there and I thought, well, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit in the back. I'm going to read a book and they can get on with it. And then we can, you know. And the teacher said, and she's a good friend of mine. We're still in contact. And she said, well, don't really do spectators. So I politely ask you to come back at the end of the class or join in. And that sort of called my bluff because I thought, okay. So really quite begrudgingly, I did the class. I couldn't really do any of the postures. I found them all quite difficult and challenging. Some of them, I was in them thinking, when is this hell going to end? And when can I move? And at the end of the class, I thought, that was amazing. What was that? Why don't I know about it? Oh, my friend went a couple more times and said, it's not for me.
Oh, so your friend stopped going? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Not really for me. She did come back to it a few years later, and that was me hooked.
What year was this?
I think it was 1993 or 4.
Wow, 1993. And you say you were already an osteopath. So what year did you qualify as an osteopath?
92.
92. Yeah. And how did you get into osteopathy out of interest?
Again, I had been interested in what I'd call subjects allied to medicine. I'd considered medicine, I'd really considered physiotherapy, and was on the verge of applying. And my cousin, who was about to go to medical school, said, you're quite quirky and weird. You thought about osteopathy? I own it. That's fine. That's absolutely fine. And I thought, never heard of it. Again, never heard of it. Don't know what that is. And I did what I always do, or always did in those days. I went to the library.
You studied, you researched.
And I got a careers book, big tome, and it did happen to be under O. And I looked it up and I thought, you know what, he's right. Really, tick, 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 tick. So I applied.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
Amazing. Yeah. Wonderful. So 1993, you begrudgingly go to the yoga class. Yeah. And you have to put your book away. So when did you realize you then wanted to teach yoga? How much later was it?
Well, this is an ongoing theme now. We're developing. So of course I didn't realize I wanted to teach.
Okay.
Until I started to teach. So it started for me because I loved it, and it one of the things that had happened in that very first class I went to, which took me a while to sort of realize, is it changed what my head. Something good happened, and I thought, this is brilliant. And then physical, you know, I started to feel more flexible, you know, all those things that we're probably aware of. And I thought, well, this is like, people should know about this. This is like, I could use this with patients. I can this is a fit. So I thought, well, if somebody thought they could do a bit of osteopathy after my 4-year degree slog, I would feel a little bit aggrieved. So I thought I'd better go and do a course and learn about this. So I spoke to my yoga teacher, and we talked about it a lot over the months. And the thing that popped up from her suggestion was the British wheel training, which appealed to me for various reasons. So I applied, got on the course. We'll come back to that maybe a bit later. Did the course, thought I'll just learn. I want to learn about philosophy and history and how this all works, and then I'll just take it and integrate it and use it. And of course, as part of the course, the teacher announced that we had to teach. And I thought, oh. And so I thought, okay, tick the box, do the teaching, do whatever I have to do, get the qualification, move on. And then, of course, that thing happened where I thought, I really quite enjoy teaching.
There you go. Yeah, amazing.
And then, and I, you know, I was very lucky. I was invited to teach at a primary school, which a friend of mine was the deputy head, and she said, well, look, come and teach our teachers. I know you don't really want to teach, but come and practice on us. Come and teach our teachers.
That's good.
And, you know, and there it began.
And what year was that, the teaching?
So that must have been 98.
Okay.
98. Yeah, 98, 99.
Okay. And roughly, do you remember how many people were on the training? And then the killer question, how many people of colour were on the training?
So there were about 12 of us.
Okay, so smaller numbers back then.
This is the 90s.
Yeah, whereas now they're like 30, 35 with each course.
Days of the Ark.
Yeah, 12. Wow.
I think so, about 12.
Okay.
And it was we did it further education college, and yeah, there are about 12. We might have started at 14 or 15, but it came about 12. And it depends on how one other person in the group would self-describe.
Oh, okay.
I could say I was the only person of colour. I could say there were 2 people of colour.
Depending on how the other person identified. You don't know, okay.
No, I don't know, but I would say there were 2 people of colour.
Out of 12. Okay. Okay. Did you know, and I only found this out very recently, did you know that British Wheel had done a BIPOC only teacher training in 2017?
No.
Yeah, so this was on the back of obviously lower numbers, not going on to teacher training.
I read about it now.
They decided to do it, yeah. So the 17 were on that training in 2017, coincidentally. So it's really interesting. I'm trying to do a bit more digging. So yeah, interesting.
I should do a bit more digging myself now.
Yes, indeed. So moving on to the highs and lows of the yoga. Well, the yoga and the wellness industry. What comes to mind, starting with lows and ending on high?
I found this has been rolling around in my head. Lows.
There might not be any lows for you.
Well,
you know?
there are no sort of devastating lows. There've been a series of micro lows. You know, you know, that range from being ridiculed for not being flexible, or being made to feel less for not being flexible. I'll come back to that. And that, I suppose that's so just feeling like I'm looking at all these images and they don't represent me, not just in terms of race, diversity, colour, but in terms of physical ability, in terms of, as a yoga teacher, even I am triggered or affected by images that make me feel less than. Yeah, and that just carrying on and on and on and come on and on, and just feeling that there isn't a range of abilities that come through. I want to see people who aren't quite reaching the floor, who aren't quite extending their shoulder back, or
they've got props all around them.
Not even just the props. I mean, I love props. You know, I went to the very last class I went to before this second lockdown. I took an IKEA bag of my own.
Yeah, nice.
But
Yeah.
it's not just that. It's that even where there aren't images of people using props or not, just seeing people just doing it like a human. That sounds odd, but just seeing some vulnerability, seeing some less than able, seeing some stiffness and restriction, actually, seeing people whose ability matches mine, and that I'm still feeling that, and it is beginning to change. I recognize and acknowledge that. But in a way, the fact that it is beginning to change makes me feel it brings back I suppose it makes me realize how long that's taken to happen.
Yes.
And that
yeah.
There still isn't enough of it. I'm greedy now. I want more. I want to see more of it. I want to see it differently. I want to see it. I just want to see it every damn day. You know, I just want to see it. And so, in some ways, that's been a sort of drip, 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 low.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So your highs. So you said there was a low you wanted to come back to.
Yes. So one of the things that I only thought about when I was thinking about doing this interview is when I applied for the British wheel training, I had to, you did an application, you had to have been doing yoga for, I think teacher trainings have changed, you had to have been practicing yourself for a while, and then you were invited to come and we had to do some sun salutations, and there were about 6 of us, so she obviously did this in rounds. There are about 6 of us, and I remember thinking, what are you looking at? This isn't transparent. This is what is this? What and of course all my anxieties, and I suppose I'm owning that now as an anxiety about not being flexible enough, about having restriction and difficulties, really got triggered. I thought, I'll never get on this course. I'm gonna get, look at her, she's this,
bendy,
she's that, and just thinking, okay, that's fried now, that's not going to be happening. As it happens, I did get on the course. I still don't know what I don't know what the criteria were. I mean, I did for the written application. I don't know what that was. So in a way, it led to a high because I'm here now and I've done it. But it was a bit of a low.
It was your audition for the teacher training.
Only reflectively looking back.
Okay, so your highs of the wellness industry.
Well, the highs are the connections I've made through social media. Through, for me, was the attending the Yoga in Healthcare Alliance conference in 2019 at Westminster University.
Okay.
Which I just loved it. I loved it because it did appeal to my slight academic teaching head, because this was a conference where we were talking about research in yoga and people were presenting their research and there was all these ideas bouncing about. Wow. And the thing that I didn't say earlier is that I worked in the NHS for 18 years as an osteopath, which was groundbreaking and fantastic, and I loved it. And funding restrictions or lack thereof put an end to that, but it was amazing. And
were you in hospital or practice? Sorry, when you were in NHS?
I worked in a GP's practice,
right,
as an osteopath.
Okay.
So that happened because, how did that happen? It happened because in the 90s, when my area had in the past had some social upheaval, shall we say. There was money around, there was a King's Fund report, and it identified inner cities needing more money being spent on primary care in order to improve people's health so they wouldn't need secondary care, so hospitals and secondary care, because that's more expensive to deliver. And also, why should people get to that point? And so there was this money, and the various practices were invited to apply for whatever they felt their general practice needed for their patients in terms of, well, whatever they felt they needed. And this very maverick, now retired GP said to himself, well, I don't see why my patients who don't have big incomes can't have complementary medicine. If it's good enough for them, it's good enough for them. So he applied for full-time osteopath, shiatsu, acupuncture,
amazing,
funding for to give people advice about benefits, counselling. I am missing something.
Radical.
I'm missing something. Very radical. And as he did it, he thought, oh, I'll never get it. But hey, I've been, and he got it all.
Excellent.
So they've got funding for full-time osteopathy. And my partner's an osteopath as well. So, and through connections, because, he knew someone who knew someone who knew us, said, what about it? So we both came in, and then they said, there you go, up to you, as you wish. So we ran it. I ran it as I would run my run my practice now. We decided how long we spent with people, how many sessions they got, all of that. It was amazing.
Wonderful.
Learned a tremendous amount. So I've always had an interest in healthcare and yoga and healthcare and osteopathy and healthcare. And so when I saw that conference, I thought, oh, this will be interesting. Probably, don't know what to expect. And it was amazing. And I met people there and connected with people there and found I found my community, or I found another community of practice. And I thought, yes, these are my people as well. Right. And so that was amazing. So that was a high.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Do you have one ask of the wellness industry?
Yeah, stop doing that thing that I was talking about earlier. Stop doing that. Stop it. Yeah, that's all. Well, no, there's more, but that's my big.
Okay.
Stop it.
Just stop it. Okay. One other. What else do you, what one other ask apart from stop it, which is very key, it's very big?
Well, and I suppose treat us as I would say, my academic head is saying, depending on extent and level of training, and so for those who are able to be considered as healthcare practitioners or along that route, and to be respected for that and to be paid accordingly.
Right.
So enough of, you do a bit of free this. No, you pay me because I'm a professional, and then I will deliver. That's right. How it works.
Yes.
And I was talking to the colleague, I was talking to Donna, and when you open your fridge, God, that exposure, I can't drink that. No. I can't eat that. Oh, I do need money to put stuff in my
the fridge. Yeah.
So I think pay us and treat us properly.
Yeah.
And that'll be great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. What got you through, I have to change my question now, what got you through the first lockdown, and how is this lockdown feeling compared to the first lockdown?
So what got me through the first lockdown was family and friends, yoga, food, food.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably in a nutshell. And work, actually, and work. The University College of Osteopathy continued, sort of like, I didn't know what Zoom was in
Nobody
March,
did.
at the beginning of March. So we were delivering lectures online. We were trying to make it, working with cases, trying to give them some clinical input. And actually, I was very grateful to have that and to have to carry on to get the students who needed to graduate, to get them through. So I was working up until June, still teaching. And so that was really good, because by the time the lockdown was eased and the weather was better, well, the weather was quite good anyway. So I was quite busy, actually. So that kept me going. That was good.
Okay.
And the current lockdown.
Yes, current lockdown.
Same thing, really. The same thing. And also, I kind of knew what to expect. So I was sort of battle ready.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's probably been helpful. The fact that it's not an unknown this time around.
And also, there's a time limit to it that we hope that there's an end point in sight. And I suppose I was able to prepare, because what did play on my mind was, oh God, less daylight hours, and the mood, what happens to our brain with less daylight and that kind of thing. So and so because I knew that, I've made more efforts to go out and to, even if it's a bit ish, the weather, to just go out and get some air, because I work from home, I teach from home, and now we're back in this, everything is from home, from this room, in fact, so it can get a bit.
Lovely painting behind you. Thank
you. Done by a friend in homage to Frank Bowling. It's called Cosmic Bowling.
Beautiful.
By Lila.
So moving on to George Floyd, rest in peace. Do you recall if you had many additional followers as people diversified their feeds? Did you notice an increase?
Had a trickle.
A trickle, okay. Okay. And did any studios approach you to come and work for them, or any institutions? So obviously you're not purely a yoga teacher. Did you find you were approached to do more lecturing, or any kind of approaches from a business diversification sense?
Not really, no.
No, okay.
Not really. Possibly a bit more diversity in what I was already doing.
Right.
If you can call it that. I mean, and that's a bit of a stretch, to be fair. I was already involved, but no.
Okay. So here's where you have the opportunity to promote anything that you'd like to promote, anything coming up. What's the rest of 2020 looking like for you as we head into 2021?
Well, with a little slither of 2020 left.
Very a slither indeed.
Yeah. So next weekend, so one of the things it's taken a long time, but going back to what I said at the beginning of wanting to use yoga in osteopathy, got there. And so I've developed a 2-day CPD, continuing professional development course for musculoskeletal therapists, so for osteopaths, chiropractors, physiotherapists, sports massage therapists, people of that ilk, who want to find out how yoga can inform their practice. And so I'm calling it, and I'm at the moment we're working on low back pain, because that's epidemic. I shouldn't use that word epidemic.
Mm.
I don't think it can be juxtaposition with the current situation, but
Okay.
it's very common. It's what we see a lot of in those fields in those communities of practice. And so I'm teaching, I'm not, just want to be very clear, I'm not teaching them to be yoga teachers, but I am teaching them principles of yoga and how to take that and use that to give short sequences of movement for their patients with low back pain.
Mm.
And that's a 2-day course that I've developed, and I'm running it for the 3rd time. And guess what? This time I'm running it online, which is slightly terrifying because I've had to modify it and hope it works. So I'm doing that this coming Saturday and Sunday. And I am working to develop more courses like that for, a few more courses like that. So the one I've got in mind is I would like to, and I'm working towards, teaching yoga teachers to cue and adapt for the less able. And I don't mean chair yoga. Right. I mean just to be able to, because I think yoga teachers do have good observational skills, sometimes not quite knowing how to use that. So you know when you look at someone and you can see, oh, I can see you can't quite get into that, or you look at it, and to have the knowledge and the confidence, a little bit of anatomy, a little bit of physiology, a little bit of awareness to be able to cue for alternative postures or, you know, adaptation. So I'm developing that.
Will that be ready for next year?
I'm hoping so.
So there's another question here, because I'm genuinely very interested, because as you were talking about what you're doing for the professionals introducing the yoga, I was thinking, oh, is she going to do that in reverse? So amazing that you've thought of that. Is it quite a process to get the CPD approved? Is it through Yoga Alliance you had to have it approved?
I don't know who I'm going to get that approved with. I mean, at the moment, I'm fortunate enough to be able to run that through the University College of Osteopathy.
Of course, right.
They'll take me.
Okay.
They've already got me.
Yes.
I'd love to see that, you know, I mean, I've got lots of ideas around that, but it is a real passion of mine. I was saying this to a patient today. She said to me, oh, you know, when I do Warrior 2 and I do Virabhadrasana 2, I can't hold my arms. And I said, well, why don't you not hold your arms? Why don't you just do this instead? And she said, can I do that? And I said, well, yes. And she said, no one said that to me. And I said, well, dear. You don't have to wait. Anyway, so we had this whole conversation, and then I got on my soapbox and started rabbiting on about it. So, yeah, and I recognize that it's because some people just don't always quite know or have the confidence or have some of the backup knowledge, and I've got my, you know, those two hats on. So, and it goes a bit wider than that as well. It goes, yeah, but basically getting people to draw on their experience and use that in action and use a bit of metacognition and think and do and, you know, get confident with doing that. So
sign me up. I'll be there.
Yeah.
Head of the queue. Please do.
Watch my Instagram page and it'll be up on there.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, and I've also got some ideas about doing courses about the anatomy of asana. So not just pure, so basically what we would call in our trade functional anatomy. So anatomy in action. So when you're doing, let's use Virabhadrasana 2 again, what's happening at the shoulder girdles, what's happening at the pelvis, what's happening when we say alignment, what do we mean? And when we say your kneecap in line with your ankle,
over the ankle,
what muscles are active, and also to move away from this very dry idea that you have your origin and your insertion of the muscle and it just does this because that and to talk a bit about pressure. So I've got that idea. Lord knows when that's going to come to fruition.
Well, I think the head of marketing, Beck, will be watching, and I'm sure she'll be knocking on your door, because MoreYoga are very good with upskilling the teachers and giving us education. So
yeah. So those are my ideas, and I've got to get through this 2-day CPT I'm delivering on at the weekend via Zoom, which is a first. So
it'll be amazing. You'll breeze through it. You'll be fine. And everybody's quite forgiving of Zoom now. But it's been quite good, touch wood. So time for questions. Got the lovely Amanda and the lovely Tor. Don't be shy. Roll up if you have any questions. No pressure. Amanda's smiling sweetly.
I'm trying to think of a good question.
Any question. It doesn't have to be a good question. Who defines a good question? Any question is a question.
I guess the crossover between yoga and osteopathy, and how do you find that you sorry, lots of ums. How do you find that you combine the two into your life? Basically, it sounds pretty busy.
Well, Yvonne saw the transformation. She saw
it's amazing.
The mirror.
Yeah, that screen is hiding oh so much.
So on a practical level, so today is a good example. Wednesday is a good, Thursday. My Thursday and Friday is a good example of how I do that in my life. So I teach a class on Zoom between 9:30 and 10:30, and the room looks pretty much exactly like this, and my mat goes there, and it's all the multitude of sins is hidden behind there. And then I've got exactly 25 minutes to change, get my treatment table from behind there, plug it all in, get the pillows, lay out the paper towel in, go and change, put my mask on, put my visor on, put my plastic apron on, get my trolley of little bits and pieces ready to go, and ta-da! And then on Thursday, I teach an evening class as well. So I have a sandwich. I have yoga, osteopathy, yoga, and then I do that order in the reverse.
Amazing.
Ta-da! So I've kind of learned to combine it quite well. And in when we were in real life, I used to have exactly 25 minutes.
So you're used to it.
Studio I was teaching at, back home, quick change, seeing patients. So I've kind of got used to combining it, and it feels a really natural fit for me, because the style of osteopathy that I do is I do a lot of soft tissue work. I do a lot of exercise, aka yoga prescription. I do a lot of use quite a motivational interviewing type style to get people to look at a bit of discord that they have. I want to do exercise, I don't like exercise, I want to make changes, I can't make changes, that sort of thing. So for me it blends really well, and I've been sort of practicing it, blending it for 20 years or whatever, so it's just about coming together.
Amazing. Any other questions? I've just thought of one. While you think of if there are any more. Otherwise, we can let you can go and have a lovely rest of evening. While we've got you, people may or may not realize that they recognize you from lots of the Yoga Matters promos.
Yes.
Tell us about how you got involved with Yoga Matters.
Well, so how I said lots of really good things happened with going to the Yoga in Healthcare Alliance conference?
Yes.
Yes, so me and my little gobby self decided to go to the Yoga Matters stand and ask because I'd done a retreat I was very lucky, I did a retreat in Sri Lanka.
Mm-hmm.
and the teacher had shown use of a belt where it was sort of a little bit like the hold you use in Navasana with the bind around the toes. Had put this belt around the toes, and then it was around the ankle, and then it was brought up into Natamudapana.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that's good use of a belt. So I went to ask them at their stand if they did a thinner belt, a thinner, longer belt.
Right.
And I spoke to Candice, and who I didn't know that was who she was at the time, and we had a little chat, and she said no, she didn't, but that was quite a good idea. And it turned out she was head of developing
products.
Product. So that was that conversation. Then I cheekily said, oh, can I get a discount? And she said, yeah, I will email this person. So I did. And then out of the blue, about 2 months later, I got an email saying, I hope you don't mind us contacting you, but Candy spoke to you on the stand and she thought you were quite interested. I can't remember the wording, a bit bonkers possibly, and said, would you be interested in doing a shoot? So that is how it happened.
Amazing. How long ago was this?
So I did the second shoot. I've done 2 shoots. I did the second one September last year.
Okay.
And the first one I did April it must have been longer ago than that.
The year before, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So
Lovely
it
brand.
was a really happy happening and lots of nice things from that.
Yeah. Run by a lovely lady, Twana.
Yeah.
Tor, do you have a question?
No, I never really have any questions.
You turned your camera on. I thought you were getting ready to.
Well, no, I felt basically I've been trying to like multitask and do some other stuff at the same time, but I thought there's only the 4 of us, so I thought I'd put my camera back on now that I'd finished.
Oh, that's nice.
See you.
Cool. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Yinka, for sharing your journey. It's been a pleasure. You're very welcome. Beautiful to hear.
It's been a pleasure.
So beautiful, varied journey and how you're combining them. So looking out for your yoga CPD and all the best for this weekend.
Yeah, watch Osteo Yinka rather.
That's it. Yeah. So yeah, good plugs. I'm going to say, where can we find you? On Instagram.
You can find me. So my osteopathic practice is Homewood Osteopathic Practice, and I've got a website, and you can find me there. You can find me at Osteo Yinka on Instagram, and I'm also hashtag the Osteopath Yogi on Instagram. So I have 2. I can't make my mind up. I have 2. I set the second one up in lockdown, so I thought I should have one. But I look at both, but I'm mainly Osteo Yinka.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so very much.
And at the University College of Osteopathy as well.
Okay, wonderful. So normally these yoga journeys are fortnightly, but next week there is a special edition. So Monday, the 26th of November. And the special edition is with the CEO himself of MoreYoga, Shamia Sidhu. So really excited to be interviewing Shamia next week. So I hope everybody can tune in.
That'll be
and so thanks again to Yinka.
Have a good evening.
And thanks guys for tuning in. Lovely to see you, Tor and Amanda. Take care.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.